And hopefully it records me. I believe we're starting. Oh, and Tony Chapman is joining us on Facebook. All right, we will go ahead and get started here and pin my video. There we go. Thank you guys for joining us. We don't have anyone live, but a lot of you maybe are going to be watching this on the recorded version or on Facebook. So we're excited to kind of kick things off here the school year as you get back into the swing of things, your routine. We are excited about a lot of different things around our education and these weekly Zoom sessions. We've got Sarah Bruni added to our team, who you guys will see a lot of. Eric, as you know, will be doing Zoom sessions and a lot of the Wirecast type stuff that he's helping take over for me. And then Austin on all of our creative stuff, so Photoshop and Adobe Premiere and a lot of those. So we have a full schedule of all those that you can check out. And today we're specifically going to be talking about kind of what your digital media class looks like and some of the new things that we're kind of testing and want to do with you guys as far as project ideas, and kind of what your class can kind of look like for this school year. If you're kind of struggling with some of those things, what it looks like as far as a curriculum and then structure. And so I'm just going to kind of go off on a little rant here and kind of how, if I was a teacher, how I would kind of implement this class at my school, and how we can help you with some of that. And we want to be a resource. We want to provide feedback and provide critique to your students and really give your students ownership in the things that they do. And so I feel like a lot of what's kind of led to this is kind of peeling back the layers. And we've always said, hey, Marcus, we've always said we want to help schools share their story. And I don't know if we've done the best job at that, the most efficient, and really provided you with a lot of value on that. And so we're really going to be diving into helping students understand how to develop and create and take a story from idea to publishing and sharing it on social media. We really want to kind of work on the process. Myself, I've kind of been hung up the last several years in what a curriculum could look like for digital media class, and it's just so many different directions. And I've been focused on the apps and the tools and really kind of in the nuts and bolts of things, and getting kind of not very clear vision on that. And I finally realized, actually met with the gal who runs marketing and social media for Nebraska Loves Public Schools, and I really got some clarity on what our mission, going back to our original mission of helping schools share their story, and what it looks like to craft a story and finding a good story and how to tell that, the different mediums. And so we've put together a great PDF that we'll link. This is the kind of not finished product, but something I put together. We just label it story workflow. And so I'll kind of run through that today. And I don't know, maybe I can show my screen and run through that, and just kind of how you could use that as a platform, a base for your class this year, and just helping your students understand how to tell good stories and on multiple mediums, whatever their strengths are. And we'll be doing that at our workshop, focusing on that, and just throughout the entire school year. And so I'll dive right in. I've been reading a book called Marching Off the Map by Dr. Tim Elmore, and it just kind of has blown my mind a little bit. And so I've got a lot of quotes and just different ideas that they've been talking about. And one of the things was kind of thinking about your class, and even if it's a club like for Marcus, who's joined us here, your students are creators. If they're in your class, they want to create something, and so give them the opportunity to create and have ownership in that. I know it's super tough for teachers to kind of want to handle, and I even struggle with that. As Sarah and Jess and I met this morning about our fall workshop, we're like, maybe we could give them an idea for a story, and then they could do that. It's like, well, that makes no sense, because then they have no ownership in that story. It means nothing to them. It'd be a lot better if they came to us with a story and we could help them break that down. And so that literally happened like an hour ago that we just realized that. So it's a constant struggle even for us mentally to let the students create, come up with those ideas, and we can kind of take them along through the process that we've created here and share our experience of how we share stories. And so teachers, you maybe can almost view yourselves as a consultant to your class, or a manager, instead of you knowing everything about Adobe Premiere and everything about Adobe Photoshop, everything about Instagram and all these different tools, iMovie, Final Cut. You're more of just kind of there to make sure their deadlines are met. You're providing guidance. We can kind of come in, provide some assistance and tutorials with some of those tools if you're not skilled in those, which is totally fine. And let the students learn and go on YouTube and find those tutorials. Don't let them not use a tool because they don't know how to use it. They can go out and find that information if you just let them and empower them to do that, and they'll do wonderful things with that. And hopefully that just fosters contribution from your students, right? That you let them create, and you're just kind of the consultant role there, not your typical traditional kind of teacher role, which is super tough. But that's how I envision this digital media class or club or whatever you call it, is kind of that structure. And so, I just got a couple different notes here. Why stories work, why even using stories in your own teaching work. And it's just the way our brains, are hardwired. We're hardwired that way to listen to stories. And I put on here a quote from, apparently this is an Indian proverb. And we got Shelley Mowinkle. Hi, Shelley. I don't know if she's still on Facebook. But tell me a fact and I will learn. Tell me the truth and I will believe. Tell me a story and it will live in my heart forever. So stories really help us connect. Stories have been here since the beginning. I mean, you can look at history, and that's what we've lived on stories and the history of our country and everything. And stories are still relevant today. Now we just have new mediums to do that. And so we kind of focus on 4 different mediums. So as far as digitally goes, you could write something like as a blog post. It could be a video. It can be something audio. Podcasting is huge, and we're investing a lot of our time in that. Or it could be a photo. And so we're kind of focusing on those 4 mediums to communicate your story. And so I'll just dive right in here to the story workflow sheet, and I will see. I think I've got it pulled up here, and I'll open it up. And this is the first time we've been brainstorming and going through all this as a team, but this is the first time I'll be kind of going through this with other people, and obviously they're watching the recording of this. But I'm not sure if this is the final design on this. Marcus, I'm sure you're like, wow, this looks horrible, but Austin hasn't touched this yet. This is all me and pages, no Photoshop or anything. But we want to start, we kind of looked at how when we put together a story, whether it's strivesports.com or Sarah's writing a story for Strive U, or Jess is writing something, Tony writing something for strivesports.com, Eric doing a podcast, Austin's doing a over 10-minute Camp Confidential with Malcolm that he's producing right now, putting together. And so it's just, we're kind of using all these different things to put stories together, and it all starts with the idea. You've got to have a good idea. You've got to know what a good story kind of looks like, and so we want to kind of try to help you with that. And so I feel like in schools, you don't always realize the stories that are around you and the people that are around you, because they're your friends or they're your colleagues, or it's the football coach, right? But he maybe did something during the summer, or it's got this really cool life story, and it doesn't always have to be about sports. It could be about personal life, anything. And so you've got to have conversations, and so that's something we want to stress to your students, is to really dive deep with their in their conversations and see, start to identify those types of stories. The next step is coordinate. This is a big one. Sarah just went through this with the story we're doing on a former York graduate. Now he's at UNL, started a drone company called Video Flight, and it took a little bit of time back and forth to coordinate and schedule that. And so they're not, the biggest thing you stress to kids is people aren't just going to open up their whole schedule all day to do a interview with you. And so you got to coordinate, you got to work with their schedule. And so there's a lot of back and forth, a lot of communicating with that. And so once you've got the idea, you've got everything scheduled, you can kind of start to, and we don't do a great job at this. We do some notes and things like that, but we don't actually have like a storyboard that we draw things out. We kind of just do it through conversation, but whatever works best for your team, you need to have some type of plan before you go. And so that is kind of with the coordinating. Who are you going to interview? What are the questions going to be? And whatever, based on whatever format. And so the storyboard, that planning piece is really big before you actually go and produce. And so then you go and produce, and you know, whatever format that is, you can document whatever's best. And that's you're kind of figuring that out when you're storyboarding. So if you've got someone that you know, and sometimes you don't know them, but you've got someone that probably isn't great talking in front of the camera, but they'd be dynamite. They've got a face for radio, right? So that'd be a great podcast. Or, you know, just because of logistics and timing, can't get a sit-down video, can't even do a podcast, but a written story would be much better to explain their background and what they're doing. And so you got to kind of identify that. We'll kind of take you through our process through that. And you get all that captured, documented, and then you start to develop and craft the story inside whatever tool you're going to use and start editing. And so whether that's WordPress or Adobe Premiere or Audacity or Photoshop, and whatever that is, you start to develop and plan that out. And that takes a lot of time, a lot of practice, and that doesn't just happen overnight. And so that's really hard to share that with students, show that process, because it's kind of boring, right? It's kind of boring to watch, you know, Austin the last 48, 72 hours edit video, right? Just a lot of back and forth, a lot of mundane type things, watching the footage, figuring out in his head, you know, the cuts and things like that. So that just, honestly, I've been telling kids, you know, you just have to practice editing and just start shooting video. And we've got some different ideas on how you can get them to that level. And then the next thing is just to figure out where you want to publish it. So for us, it's WordPress. For us, for video, it's on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. For audio, we use SoundCloud. Photo, we do Instagram, all the different social media applications. And it does no good to just publish it. You have to share it. And so I think that's one of the biggest things. I think, and I'm speaking to teachers that will watch this later, is they don't always do a great job of sharing the student projects or getting that out to the community, right? So maybe they make a really cool commercial or something like that. Get that out, let the community see that, and they'll really, the students will create some ownership in that, and they'll want to do more and create more, and once they get some feedback on that. And then the last thing I just kind of added here at the top left was to think about how you share on social media, and to think simple, short, sticky, so something memorable and something that people want to share. And so just kind of add that. We'll see how this evolves. We'll love your feedback, Marcus, when we get done, but we'll start to use this in our workshops and really kind of use this as the base for our education as we kind of rethink the way we are feeding into schools and our model as a whole, and not just being a live streaming company, but a full digital media education service for your school, and not just your class. The entire school could use this kind of guide, and something we'll be working on with Nebraska Loves Public Schools on as well, kind of a how-to guide to tell your story. So, Marcus, you got any thoughts on that? Okay, that's fine. All right, a couple of project ideas, and then we'll get close to wrapping up here. One of the things I'm really passionate about helping schools with, and this is, you know, you just got to, at the end of the day, do it. And let me stop sharing my screen. Is connecting with a local business. I feel like there's a lot of value in going and reaching out to a local business, even if you don't have a relationship or know them, but it could provide a extremely valuable learning experience for students to go into a business and say, hey, how can we help with your digital marketing efforts? Maybe it's you going in and helping the business build a new website or create a new logo or create a podcast or a video, a commercial, or do some stories about their employees that have been there for 50 years and they're about to retire. And so something that could live online for a long time and create, you know, they're creating something that business is going to actually use. I don't think you can get that type of learning anywhere else in the classroom. And so they get to get outside of the school, they get to have conversations, and they get to go through that whole story workflow with someone and really learn, and then have something to show on their resume or their, something, whatever they want to go do later in life. Even if it's not around digital media, they could use that and say, hey, I was a part of this team or collaborated on this project. And so that's my challenge on this Zoom session, is to connect with a local business and say, hey, I've got a group of students that want to offer you digital media services for your business this school year. And just go ask them that for free. You don't have to charge for that. The other way you could kind of create some projects around is documenting. And so we talked about a lot of that last semester. Do a day in the life video. So have a student kind of walk around, selfie video all day, document their day from when they wake up to when they go to bed, and show kind of the rawness of what it's like to be a student at your school. And through that process, they get to learn how to talk in front of the camera, which I've kind of been playing around with and practicing this summer through a vlog. And they get to then take that and edit that video. So they're getting the editing practice, and then they get to share that out and kind of show the unique perspective and build a story around that, or just kind of the timeline of what it looks like to be a student and the day in the life, their shoes. And then I said at the beginning, but just looking at stories around your school, I think is something we don't always do a great job of, and just having conversations and saying, you know what, that would, it's just a mindset. That would be a great story. Our kids should kind of pursue that and write a story or record a podcast or do a video or do some type of photography blog or something like that. The next thing is we actually have some projects that are becoming from our partners, so truck center companies. We're going to be working on some different projects to deploy out to you guys. And so Sarah and I will be working on what that looks like. That could kind of live for the whole school year. And then they would provide you some critique and feedback on that, and they may not use it, but it's going through that process in a real life type of marketing sense. Cornerstone Bank, I just talked to them yesterday, and they're working on some different projects that you guys could use in the Nova Fitness, and then waiting on one other partner that could be in the mix maybe for next year, but would be really cool. We also have Eric doing the student section, which is a fantastic opportunity for your kids to connect with him on our Strive Sports side. And so be sure to, you can find that blog post that Sarah did on striveu.com to get your kids connected. And so they can be posting content to our strivesports.com site through the student section. So kind of a student voice piece of our website. And then Sarah's got lots of different blog posts that she's going to be working on, and feature interviews that you guys can tap into. Be sure to get into Slack. Marcus, I know, we just put the post up about that. Marcus is very active, and we really want to create a community in Slack with schools and students, teachers and students, to be able to kind of hang out and bounce ideas off each other, do what we're doing, but through word, through written text. So I want you to really rethink, if you're doing a news show through all this, I haven't talked about that, but I really want you to rethink kind of what your news show looks like, if that's still your plan. If you want to go a different direction, that's kind of where I'm nudging you to, is to kind of maybe move away from a traditional news show setting in your class and do more project-based type of things. But if you do still want to do a news show, I challenge you to take those clips and those stories and share them individually on social and your website and wherever your school's social media accounts. And so break up those segments so someone doesn't have to sit down and watch a 10 to 15 minute school news show to find those stories. They can watch them in the 2 to 3 minute increments, and you may get some more reach and better experience, and you get to learn. Students get to learn how to kind of take those pieces of content and put them on other platforms. So I think that's it. I know, Sarah, this is more of a general question. You want to chat about our Google Classroom idea?
Yeah, so I guess the question was if in the classroom you were using Google Classroom or if you were using Slack. Is that correct?
Yeah, we want to try to figure out how many of you are using Google Classroom that's opened up now to your personal Gmail, and we want to see how that can interact, if that would be a better platform to engage with students and teachers than Slack. Right now, no one's really using Slack, but we want to see what that looks like to switch from their school email to their personal email inside Google Classroom. So it'd be very interesting to see what that kind of looks like. So we may put a survey out, Google form, and get some feedback from you guys on that. So, and then, so my challenge, do you remember my first challenge, Sarah? What did I say?
It was to start documenting. I wrote this.
Yeah, connect with a local business.
Connect local business and then start documenting.
Yes. Yep. So that's our challenge for this Zoom, and I've got lots of different challenges. But if your class is not on Instagram, I would highly suggest you signing up and getting an account for under Instagram to start posting content there. Twitter is great, but please start to think about other platforms as, I'm reading this book as students shift to other platforms like Snapchat and Instagram. You need to start to give them, they may be more inclined to want to share things on Instagram than they would on Twitter. So think about that. Discuss that with your administration if you have to go that route. But I had one other thing, but look out for the word predator. And I know that sounds really scary and creepy, but be what we're going to be trying to train up the next generation of predators, which is our producers and editors combined. So producer, editor. And those are the skills that if students want to go into this kind of media, video design, writing and documenting, doing podcasts, they need to know how to produce, which would be create, go out, shoot the video, record the podcast, and edit. And that's a huge skill that your students, that you can take advantage of now in high school and give them those experiences now so they don't have to learn those later if this is a career path they want to go down. So Andy Olson, I see you jumped on late, but if you guys have any questions, I'm going to upload this recording. So I'm getting a little bit winded here, but we'll cut this off. I highly suggest, Andy, if you're not on Slack, have we gotten you on Slack yet? Okay. Sarah, I'll shoot you his email right after this and you'll get an invite. That's kind of Marcus. You can connect with Marcus. He's a teacher, tech guy at Johnson County Central, very active in our Slack community. And so we're always sharing different ideas. All the different stuff you see from us will be in Slack, and we have different channels you can engage with and kind of, that's kind of our online community. And then I just added you on Facebook, Andy, to get in our Facebook group as well, so we can connect with you there. Cool. All right. Well, thank you guys. I'm going to shut the recording off, and then I'll have some time if you got any questions here. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys. Who's on next week, Sarah?
Eric is on for Wirecast.
Yes. All right. So if you need some Wirecast help, you can listen and watch Eric next week, same time every week at noon. So thanks for watching, guys.